And how's it going, guys? It's your boy Josh Olufemii here live in LA. I got my bro, the one and only Nick Khoo, live over in Sydney, Australia. You guys know him. He's been on this channel so many times. He is a master at VFX. What we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about the automation of video editing. A rather interesting topic, and it's a topic that has provoked fear as well as interest in a lot of people in our community, because automation has gotten to the point where we've actually been able to see a lot of really cool things being automated that I don't think we would have believed would have been automated just maybe 5 to 10 years ago. A few things that come to mind: warp stabilizer even. That's technically an automated process that would have been unthinkable, in the past. Even this year, we've had a lot of recent updates such as auto reframing in Premiere, the auto ducking feature that allows you to auto duck music, and lastly, the new edit scene selection tool that I just covered in the last video. So Nick, we're going to begin with you. Tell me, what has been your observation regarding the world of editing automation, and what do you think we have to fear or maybe be intrigued with about the future?
So with automation, with video editing, there's some interesting trends happening where, you're obviously seeing programs getting a lot smarter in figuring out where the scenes are in your video clips. So, you introduce 10 or 15 clips that are all joined together back to back, and obviously Premiere can figure that out pretty quickly, which is pretty cool. I mean, that in itself is not crazy difficult, I don't think. I think the idea has been around for, you just see where there's an obvious cut between scene to scene. But I mean, the fact that that is now possible means that it just takes a lot off your plate in terms of, all right, I don't have to sort that stuff out. I know that can be done automatically. But this is just sort of, as we saw with the roto brush feature that we saw, as machine learning becomes a lot more sophisticated, if you can see a way to replicate a certain process or system, and you teach the AI to basically look for the patterns, eventually you'll be able to automate almost everything in our pipeline to a very large extent. I mean, I'm saying, I reckon that automation in the future is going to take at least 80% of the work off our hands. And I don't mean the creative stuff. I mean more like the drudgery, where you just have to kind of sift through clips and look for example, a take that's usable. Whether you listen to people kind of talking in their interviews, but then there's those little bits of the interview where they're muffling and they're just sort of talking to themselves. I reckon at some point, editing software is going to be able to figure out when the actual answers begin and when they end, and then be able to sift through that. If you can imagine a program actually figuring that out for you and going, "Oh yeah, I found all I found all the full answers for you. What do you want to do?" And then on top of that, if you can imagine, the AI will also transcribe the voice of the software. The voice of the interview, and give you a transcript of what was actually said in the interview. You can send that to your producer, and they can actually do a paper edit and go, "We want this answer and this answer. Can you put that together and send it back to the editor?" And can you imagine, the XML comes back to the editor, and the editor all has to do is just plug the XML back into the editing program, and it'll basically do an instant cut based on what the editor has put down. What the producer has put down. Can you imagine that? I reckon that's what's going to happen in the future, because the workflow is so seamless, and all the technology exists to be able to do this. So I don't think it'll be long before before Premiere or some program out there figures that out, because it's all the bits and pieces are there. It's just a matter of time of how they get. It's just a matter of time when they get there.
I loved what you said as far as AI is going to be able to pick up processes. I've always said on this channel that everything can be broken down into an elemental process. Like all these pieces of work, visual masterpieces that you see, whether it be awesome music videos, awesome movies, there seems to be this mysterious thing that just creative, talented people in the ether know how to create. But what we try to teach on this channel is that everything has a process, and we try to just give you the tools to be able to reverse engineer those processes to create something even greater. Machines and AI definitely would be able to probably eventually do the same thing, right?
Absolutely, dude. You nailed it on the head in terms of just, there's a lot of what we do that is, I reckon 90% of it is a process of just trying to figure out how to break things down into smaller steps. Once you figure out how that's done, if you can imagine, if you can imagine an AI watching over your shoulder, watching how you do the process, if you can break things down into a process like that, and AI probably can eventually figure that out. Yeah, Well, can you imagine like you're sitting on the computer and then AI is actually watching your workflow, and then it just sort of chimes in and goes, "Oh yeah, I get it. I can take over the rest of the job for you," and then you come back, an hour later and it's done.
They're like, it's like mean and like, yo, that sucks. Let me take over. It's like the most horrible rendition of the helicopter creative director talking over your shoulder, watching over your shoulder.
Well, I mean, it even comes down to things like, I mean, you've seen those ads on YouTube for Grammarly, right? Where it actually gives you like suggestions on how to write your comms essentially. I mean, you can imagine if you're writing a script, for example, for something, and then something the equivalent of Grammarly for script writing comes up and goes, it would actually be better if they said it like this. Or I notice your second act is a little bit slow. Maybe there's some suggestions here of how you can actually speed that act up a little bit.
If you're watching this video, you're probably a video editor, and Envato Elements is a video editor's dream. It's a subscription service that gives you unlimited downloads of the most incredible stock footage, like cloud and fog overlays, aerial footage, fire, lightning. They also have incredible VFX packs, Premiere and After Effects templates, sound effects, royalty-free music, and literally anything you could ever want as a video editor. Just by clicking the link below, you will automatically get a free first month. You'll see that coupon for the free first month at the very, very end after you've finished signing up. And that's it. I use Elements literally in some regard every day. Nick, do you feel like that this increase of potential as far as technology goes, do you think it's going to clash with our opportunities as creatives, as editors, or do you think it's going to help us?
There will definitely be a shift. I don't know what that shift will be. I think to make people feel like they're going to be out of a job, maybe certain jobs will be gone, but then other jobs will come up. And the other opportunity here is that people who have no experience with this stuff will have an opportunity to get into this stuff. So, but again, you got to understand, AI is really good at replicating what already exists, but it's not very good at coming up with new ideas. So it just means that if you have it, so what I'm saying is that AI is going to be good at getting rid of all the grunt work. It's going to be great at basically eliminating those tasks that you basically don't want to do as a creative. And we know what those are. You know what those jobs are. We don't want to sit down and look through hundreds of takes to find the best take. In an ideal world, we just want somebody to look. We would get an assistant to look through those takes for us, right? But in the real world, if you can automate that task, I mean, and the computer can do it faster and more accurately, then why not? I mean, I'm not saying that I want to eliminate assistants' jobs, but at the same time, it's like, it's not a job I ever enjoyed doing. I'm quite happy to skip that step and just go straight to learning how to edit myself, So I'm happy for automation to basically do that for us, And
I just go back to even Warp Stabilizer, which has been here forever. That is technically an automation to reduce, I guess, shaky camera. If it was even possible, people would have to literally, I guess, keyframe. Warp Stabilizer kind of got on right when I was getting into video production, but I assume if people even tried to fix shaky camera, you would have had to have keyframed it, right?
I honestly don't know what people used to do. Yeah, I just saw a YouTube video on an open source algorithm that does interpolation between frames. I know we've had interpolation between frames for a really long time, but this one is particularly good because it was actually, I think it was machine learning trained. So it can actually figure out the difference between the background and the foreground. So I think one of the big issues with keyframe interpolation is that if you just say, for example, you have a 24 frames per second clip and you want to slow it down to, say, 60 frames a second or something like that, the background and foreground elements will basically screw you over because, it can't tell the difference between a foreground and a background element. But this new algorithm can. And it's that sort of stuff where you kind of, once it gets trained, it's like it's infinitely smarter and does a better job than any human could have done by itself. So again, it's just a matter of just training things to just learn what it is it's looking for.
And Nick, thanks so much for joining us. I want everyone to know that Nick has an incredible YouTube channel that you need to check out in the description below. He goes over so much stuff. He has incredible work there, VFX tutorials. We have 2 more videos for you to watch right here on the side of the screen. And please make sure to like this video. Please make sure to subscribe. And as always, make sure to keep it chill.